You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Posture Screen, Chiro Thin, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Chiro Moguls, Rhino Coaching, Local Gold, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Go Get Talks, Mahalo Wellness, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, and Fit to Lift. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 124 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Jared Yellin. I almost said doctor because he's so influential in the chiropractic space. And if you want to learn more about automation through software and communication through marketing, stay tuned. All right, so this is episode 124 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and today we have the opportunity of interviewing Jared Yellin, and he is the founder of the amazing company Synduit. And before we get jumping into this episode, I just want to welcome you to our show.
Well, it's wonderful to be here, fired up to do anything to support the chiropractic profession. So let's dig in, and I appreciate both of you for doing what you do. I know it's a lot of work, and it's extremely well received, and it's making a big difference in the world.
So first question is tell us your chiropractic story and what really got you motivated to get into the chiropractic space.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I have always been fanatical about health. That's just been my root passion, my original passion in life. So much so when I was in high school, if I ever got in trouble, my parents would ground me and take away the gym from me. Like, that's how passionate I was. And I was kind of that odd kid growing up, where instead of eating Burger King and playing video games and watching MTV, I was in the gym. I was eating extremely pure and listening to personal development. So that was just always my norm. But I had no idea that chiropractic was part of that. I didn't actually get adjusted for the first time until I was 21 years old, which should really bother everybody that's listening / watching this, because I'm like the ultimate chiropractic patient. I just was never shared the story. I didn't know. Like, I knew the chiropractic helped people that were in pain, but I never knew that was actually a way to just increase vitality and energy and all of the benefits associated with chiropractic. So I've always been an entrepreneur, but at one short period of time, I decided to try out corporate. I'm like, let me see what this corporate thing looks like. So I worked on Wall Street for 6 months, and one day somebody told me how to comb my hair. And I like my hair, Jim, right? And I quit the next day, because I'm like, no one's telling me how to comb my hair. So I was unemployed, living in New York City with a huge rent, and I had this vision to launch a corporate wellness program. And I actually started making some inroads. I was going to raise some capital for it. I had tons of relationships in the investor world. And I was reading a book at the time called The New Wellness Revolution, which was written by Paul Pilzer. I'm not sure if anybody has read that, but you should, because it talks quite a bit about chiropractic. And it talks about how the wellness industry was the next $1 trillion industry. And I remember reading it, and I'm like, this dude, Paul, he just knows what he's talking about. Like, this is it. This is my world. And I didn't know who Paul was. Paul's an incredibly successful entrepreneur outside of being an author. So I wanted to connect with him just to share what I was up to with this whole corporate wellness program. So I didn't know his email address. So I actually guessed 12 different variations of what his email address could be. Because this is years ago. There wasn't software to hack this stuff. Like, you have to kind of guess it. So I sent the same email to 12 different email addresses, and immediately 11 emails bounced back because they were inaccurate, but one seemed to have gone through, which meant that there was a chance. And about 3 hours later, he replied. And the first sentence was, I have no idea how you got my email, because he's a super private guy. And the second thing was, I'm really impressed with your vision. You're right on track. I'm not the right person to do this with you, because he's really big with healthcare reform, but let's just be in touch and see what happens in the future. Keep me posted with your progress. So I'm like, amazing. Paul Pilzer responded. About 2 hours after that, I got another email from this guy named Dr. Patrick Gentempo. And I had no idea who Patrick was, but I knew that he had a DC after his name. And so did my mother's boyfriend, who's now my stepfather. So I reached out to my mother's boyfriend, who's Dr. Charles Berg in New Jersey. And I said to him, who's this Patrick Gentempo dude? And he's like, Jared, if there's anyone for you to connect with right now, based on what you're looking to do, Patrick's your guy. So I'm like, awesome. So Patrick's email said to me, I just started this company called Creating Wellness, which was one of the companies he started. And I'm not looking to do anything when it comes to hiring, but I see you're in New York City. I'm right outside of the city. I'd love to meet up one day just to kind of hear your vision. So I took him up on the offer and we met and we just connected immediately. And I joined him. I opened probably about 300 creating wellness centers when creating wellness was still in operation. But that's what got me into chiropractic. And I remember the day that I got my first adjustment, which happened to have been from my mother's boyfriend, not from Patrick. But I remember that first day that I got adjusted, I was so angry. I mean, I really was like pissed. And I realized the reason for my frustration was, how did I not find out about this for 21 years? Like someone who seeks this out, like this is like what I do. Didn't even know about it. And guess what? There are hundreds to thousands of people in every community right now that are just like who I used to be. They want it. They just don't even know that you exist. So yeah, that's my story. And that has been my motivation, because chiropractic is a gift and it's also the best kept secret in the world. And I know the only way to make a secret known and mainstream is through consistent education and relationship-based marketing. So yeah, that's my story.
You know, you said something there that really touched me, because one of my friends gave me that Paul Zane Pilsner. It was a DVD at the time, and I would drive around and I listen to this thing on replay, because, you know, DVDs, you don't just pop them out, or CDs, you don't just pop them out. You listen to it like over and over and over. this messaging, and I heard about this $1 trillion industry as well. And I was like, the wellness revolution is big. And I was like, well, how can I cement myself into this arena as well? And one of the things that we discussed a couple of weeks ago was consistency. And when you have a consistent message that you believe in, then you want to share that with more people. And you have to learn how to disseminate your message based on the industry. And that's really what I kind of honed in on. So when I heard about what you were doing with building a platform to do this consistently and build impressions, and one of the things I really believe in is the more impressions that you make, the more impression you make. And I think that that's something that I've kind of like coined the phrase on, is that we have to consider each day we get a chance to make impressions.
100%.
And there's these hundreds of millions of people that need the impression seen, because we live in this scrolling technology world where it's a swipe up, or it's a scroll up, or it's a swipe down. And we need to keep on putting this impression of this wellness revolution in front of these people that are starving for the truth. And I think that that's something you touched on too, is you were pissed. You were pissed that you didn't know how great of a profession this was before you actually got your first adjustment at 21 years. And I think that that's something to really like hone in on, is there's so many people out there that are living this mediocre lifestyle that is not getting chiropractic, and they think that it's only for neck pain and back pain, and they don't realize that it is about the wellness revolution. And I think that knowing that there is a revolution that you and I are a part of, and we are torch bearers, and Luke and I are torch bearers, and we are out there campaigning for a better future for these people that are sick and suffering. I think that's something that we can all kind of leverage into and work together. And like I've told you before, one of my mentors, Ed Osborne, he says that we're all more alike than we are different. And that's a really impactful statement, because there's all these people around us that are in the complexes around us, and these businesses around us that are sick and suffering. And I tell people all the time when I'm out there selling chiropractic, is if you don't believe in chiropractic, you're buying stuff from the other people. And that's something that's so true, is we have a culture of people that are buying the wrong thing, and they just don't know how great chiropractic can make an impact on their lives.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, it just comes down to consistency. And I talk about this often with chiropractors, is what patient sees better outcomes? The person that comes to you sporadically, or the person that comes to you consistently? And I mean, this is like one of those silly questions, right? It's like, well, obviously, Jared, if they come consistently, then they see consistent results. Well, then what makes your business any different, right? Like if you have a sporadic business, which is nearly every chiropractor, it's because you're just not taking consistent action around education and relationship-based marketing. You're taking off the month of August because the kids are out of school, right? No, like, does that mean during the month of August more people die? Yeah, because you're not educating them. And that's just how I look at it, right? I look at it as it's life or death. So if the chiropractor is able to educate on a consistent basis, the people that hear it live. And if they don't, then people die. And it's a real thing. And I think when chiropractors start to take that level of seriousness around education and relationship-based marketing, is when they start to see consistent outcomes in their business, and they start to see consistent new patient flow, consistent retention. They see consistency around referrals. They see consistency around light bulbs turning on. They see consistency around patients going to chiropractic college, because they're a great example of a leader that's educating and inspiring people to improve the most important area of their life, which is their health.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't start getting adjusted until my mid-20s as well. And, only because I met Jim. And I used to get constant migraines ever since I was like 7 years old. And then after I started getting under care, I stopped getting them. So do you have any favorite mantras or motivational words of wisdom that keep you fired up about helping the profession?
Yeah, well, it's our company mantra, which is together we achieve more. So we have a tribe of 35,000 people right now that use our software, and we're not stopping till we hit 1 million changemaker entrepreneurs, and we're not stopping there. We're going to just keep multiplying from there. But we actually call it the million changemaker movement. And but it's together we achieve more. And I really am just fanatical about chiropractic getting that. It's about together we achieve more. There's so few chiropractors compared to the number of people in the world. So the reality is there is more patients than any of you could ever see. So when you start operating with that mentality of together, we can unite and we can achieve more. And even if you have different techniques or slightly different philosophy, together you achieve more. I am confident that it moves the profession forward. So yeah, that's our company mantra, and that's my personal mantra, and that's something that I hope more chiropractors start to embrace.
So right now we're going to rub the magic crystal, the magic ball here with you, and we're going to say, where do you see the chiropractic profession going in the next, say, 20 years?
So because within 20 years, we're going to have 15,000 chiropractors using our platform. So where I see it going is chiropractors, 15,000 of them will have a 12-month education and relationship-based marketing plan laid out for their office, where they're doing consistent webinars and workshops and community initiatives and referral programs. And as a result of this micro effort, it's going to create macro awareness for the profession. One of the things that I find to be somewhat useless is like these major like media pushes for chiropractic that are just so unidentifiable. I mean, like we're like these like random spokespeople like talk on behalf of the profession that like the average person can't connect with. They're like, yeah, that's cool that a professional athlete, obviously, like they won the Super Bowl, they're getting adjusted, right? Like how does Mary, the mom of 3, identify with that professional athlete? It's such a far reach. So it has to be a grassroots effort. It has to be chiropractors taking personal responsibility to have a 12-month plan where they are educating every single month for 12 months for the rest of their lives. And in 20 years, I think it'll be even sooner than that. But in 20 years, that without a doubt will be happening. And I'm going to say it's with 20,000 chiropractors at that point, which just up levels the entire profession when it comes to awareness. Because I don't care what professional athlete is standing on a pedestal sharing a message, that is nowhere near as powerful as 20,000 offices sharing that message within their community, within their social following, within their email following, within their texting following. I mean, that's like hundreds of millions of people hearing the message versus like 15,000 that professional athlete's going to reach through some media push. So yeah, all grassroots. And that's the reason why we do what we do.
So let's play this game for a minute. What would it look like if every single chiropractor went through your marketing program?
Went through it? Yeah, freedom. So it's really interesting you asked that, right? So like there's this like war cry within our company, which is what's the best outcome we could ever achieve for our end user? And it's freedom. And the reason we use that term is it's not just to excite people. It's completely legitimate. We believe that the handcuffs that exist for businesses across all industries, chiropractic is just one of them, is that their message is locked inside of them because they absolutely don't know how to mobilize it. They just don't. They don't know how to use complex technology. They don't know how to write. They don't know how to design. So this gift within them, which is their story, their message, their solution, it's like they're handcuffed and no one is ever going to know but them, and they die with that potential. So what we offer is freedom for that message to actually reach your community, because we remove every one of the barriers. So we remove the technological barriers. We remove the creative barriers. We remove the consistency barriers. We remove every barrier that would prevent somebody from mobilizing their message. And as a result, it's the most liberating feeling in the world. I'll never forget as an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, besides for that 6 month stint on Wall Street. The most liberating day that I've had as an entrepreneur is when I built and implemented our first annual marketing plan. And I was able to wake up knowing the next 12 months were completely laid out, completely implemented with education and relationship-based marketing, mobilizing my message and my mission and my purpose and everything that I stand for. And that's my hope and my desire for every single chiropractor who's serious about sharing their message within their community.
You know, I love the word freedom, because that's what our nation stands on, is the freedom of pursuit of happiness and the freedom of our ability to support each other. I love the word freedom because it's really, you know, it rings true to every household that is a part of this country. And I think that the war cry is true as well. And I think that supporting chiropractors through a system is something I think that so many of them have lacked. And I think that a lot of them are just kind of like shooting in the dark, and they're hoping that what they're doing is working. And I think that every once in a while, yeah, they pat themselves on the back. We did a patient appreciation event today. We did one spinal screening at the state fair this year. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of chiropractors I talk to on a day-to-day basis that have zero strategy. They just kind of go out there, and the famous word is wing it. Like, they're just out there winging it, man. And they wonder why that they have what you said earlier is this revolving door practice. They have like this revolving door of 600 came in this year. Cool. How many of those did you retain long-term? How many of those brought somebody with them? How many of those showed up to one of your workshops? How many of those showed up to one of your webinars? How many of those people stayed, paid, and referred? And I think that that's something that we really need to hone in on, is that systematic strategy that is your war cry for freedom for the chiropractor, which I love what you're establishing for this chiropractic world. There's so much synergy between what Luke and I are doing with what you and your team are doing. And I think that this is like, really, when they say a match made in heaven, I really think that this is a match made in our digital space. And I think that when it comes to like building the consistency, that's something that we have done second to none. That's why we have the ability to be the front runner with the most listened to podcast in Chiro space, is because we have been more consistent. We have built those impressions. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you next about is, what do you think is the most important thing to happen to the chiropractic profession over the past decade, since we kind of future paced it? Let's go back in time now. What is the most important thing?
So it's interesting. Years ago, I had this conversation with Dr. Christopher Kent, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with Christopher. So Christopher was like, when I first started Synduit in my apartment 8 years ago, he was my first client. And the way he paid me was through giving me his research. And we would then take his research and like turn it into really cool campaigns. We still, to this day, we leverage this research that is just not found anywhere other than Christopher Kent's computer. And we actually talked about this concept around what has been like the biggest deal, the biggest opportunity within the chiropractic profession. And it hasn't fully happened yet. So it's something that is a little bit future pacing, but it has happened more more recently, is chiropractors getting out of their four walls and actually meeting people in their community. And I've seen it happen a lot more over the past decade, actually, where they really are, even though there's social media and all these wonderful things, I am seeing chiropractors getting out and building relationships within their community, and also focusing on creating a sense of community within their practice. Christopher shared this story with me. He actually did practice at one point in time. And when he practiced, there was this lady that came in and she got adjusted. And the next day she was back. And his default was, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? And he went up to her and he said, Mary, like, is everything okay? You were just here yesterday. And Mary said, yeah, Dr. Kent, like, I was just walking by and there's just this feeling in your practice and it just feels so right. So I just wanted to come in and sit down for a few minutes, if you don't mind. He's like, yeah, of course, just stay. And she stayed for a few minutes and then she left. And that's something that excites me, because I do see chiropractors focusing on a combination of getting out into their community, but even more importantly, creating a sense of community within their practice. So there's that feeling, because that's not a feeling you get and not to compare chiropractic with medicine, but you don't get that when you go to the medical doctor. Like, you don't have that feeling. No one just walks by their medical doctor and like, yeah, I'm just going to sit in the waiting room. Like, no, they're sprinting as fast as possible to get away from it, right? And like seeing chiropractors really focusing on that patient experience is exciting to me. And I've seen just giant strides. I've seen practices really invest in their physical space to make it like the right space that was just like warm and inviting and special and unique. And that excites me. That's a huge step for the profession. It's a really big deal when you start focusing on that experience. And we're not there yet. So like there is some future pacing to this too, but we have made a lot of progress in the past decade.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about a topic you might be familiar with. It's called marketing. So we know you're like the best in the business at helping other people market their own brands, but how do you market yourself? What are some of your favorite marketing tactics to get your business in front of more eyes?
So yeah, I'm a practitioner with this. So what I tell people to do is what I do. So we implement an annual marketing plan for our company, and we are like fanatical about it. Like it is the foundation of every single thing that we do. And we deliver on it every single month, even when months seem too busy to deliver on it. So that's what I tell businesses to do. And that's what we actually do as well. But what I would say like is like that number one strategy is I just don't stop sharing the message of what our company stands for. I talk about this often, and our Synduit was started 8 years ago in my apartment, did over $1 million in the first few months of business. And we did it without any website and any logo. And I'm sharing it not because of the $1 million. I'm sharing it because I didn't worry about those details. I didn't care that there was no site. I didn't care there was no logo. What I cared about was I had crystal clarity of what I stood for. And as a result, whenever I shared it, people were like, I stand for that too. What do I have to do to sign up? And that's something that, if I could say, is more important than any like strategy that you deploy. It's really knowing what you stand for, because what you stand for has nothing to do with the font that you choose for your website or the color of your logo, or the type of pictures that are in the slideshow of your website. What you stand for is something that's really deep within you. It's the reason you get out of bed every single morning. It's maybe something that is your greatest frustration that you've turned into your greatest opportunity. But to answer this question specifically, I practice what I preach. So we have an annual marketing plan. It's all based on what we stand for. And I am fanatical about sharing that with people that aren't even listening or don't even want to hear it. I don't care. They need to know it. And I'm just very consistent with that.
Can you dig a little deeper into that? When you say sharing, do you mean on Facebook? Do you mean to your email list? Like, could you be a little more specific for our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. It's everywhere. So it's email, it's social, it's text, it's Facebook Live, it's in person. I mean, like physically going to BNI meetings, going to meetup meetings, getting involved with your PTA, your Chamber of Commerce. It's every mechanism where you can connect with people. So there's only two things that chiropractors should do. One is they should adjust, and two is they should educate/inspire. And educate/inspire means in real life and digitally as well. So I mean literally everywhere. And I mean that on a consistent basis too. Every week there should be some type of educational and inspirational email that is being sent out from every single practice. Every day there should be something educational/inspirational that's being posted on the social media platforms of your choice. Once a month, there should be something educational and inspirational being sent via text message. Every month, there should be a webinar that practices are offering to their community and beyond. Every quarter, there should be an in-person educational workshop that practices are delivering. Twice a year, chiropractors should be doing patient appreciation days to celebrate and honor the people that are making their business possible. Twice a year, there should be all-in referral programs where your whole team is focused on doubling your business in a 30-day time frame by getting each patient to refer one new patient to you. And then twice a year, you should be doing online health challenges, 14-day challenges where groups of people start and finish a process together that you're leading. So that's the level of consistency. And then when it comes to the communication, it's everything: email, social, text, print, in person, press releases, getting on your local TV because you're very consistent putting your press releases in your newspaper. It's getting in your local newspapers and magazines. It's getting on podcasts. This is all chiropractors should be doing, is educating and inspiring and adjusting. That's where their focus should be.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Posture Screen, Chiro Thin, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Chiro Moguls, Rhino Coaching, Local Gold, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Go Get Talks, Mahalo Wellness, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, and Fit to Lift. Let's hustle.
Well, one of the things that really rubs me in the chiropractic space, and I'm going to just open up a big conversation with you now, is what do you have to say to those chiropractors who are like, I don't need to market, and I'm a referral-based business, and I don't do any type of marketing except for I'm so good that I just run referrals. What do you have to say about that?
So I don't know if you guys know who Brad Sugars is. He's a good friend. He's the founder of Action Coach, which is this very large franchise. They have 1,400 franchises, and he's a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he touches everything. And he's a speaker. I think he's published 40 books. And we created this training program. It's free. It'll come out within the next month or so. And it's called, we're actually figuring out the name now, but I think it's called Win Your Client Formula. And it's this 3 video series, zero ulterior motive, like nothing's even being sold. Like everybody's gonna wait for that hook and there's nothing being sold. It's 30, 45-minute videos. And the first video talks about marketing, the second video talks about sales, and the third video talks about retention. And it's nothing to do with chiropractic. It's just for all businesses. We were just talking about this yesterday because we just finished the 3rd recording on the concept of retention and how one of the ways to build retention is to start generating more referrals. But it's not just because you exist. It's because you're actually manufacturing referrals. You're actually doing things so that people can refer. And I, at one point in time, went to every single chiropractic event that existed. And I would talk to hundreds, if not thousands of chiropractors just across this time. And I would always love when the chiropractors would put their chest out and they'd be like, I have a referral-based practice. I'm like, well, what do you do to generate those referrals? And they're like, nothing. I deliver a great adjustment. I'm like, yeah, but that's expected. Like no one's going to come to a chiropractor because they have a mediocre adjustment. Like it's expected that you're going to deliver an amazing adjustment. Like what do you actually do to generate referrals? And almost none of them had an answer. And these are businesses that one month get 30 new patients, the next month they get 2. And they're like, well, I got 30 new referrals last month, but how many did you get this month? 2, because you're not manufacturing referrals. So referral-based marketing is not something you just get because you're good at what you do. That goes without question. You have to be the best at what you do. Referral-based marketing is the consequence of being a consistent education and relationship-based marketer. So that goes back to what I said before, doing 12 webinars, doing 4 workshops, doing 2 patient appreciation experiences, doing referral programs twice a year, doing online challenges twice a year. The more active you are with education and relationship-based marketing, the more that you can manufacture referrals because you're on the mind of people more often. One of the reasons why chiropractors lose patients so quickly, it's because they're out of sight and out of mind. But what if you can be out of sight but still on their mind because you have a marketing plan in place? So anyone that's like, I don't have to market, I have a referral-based practice, you're going to be the one that has like the 30 new ones in 1 month and then 2 in the next month. And you don't understand why at the end of the year, you're exactly where you were at the beginning of the year because you need a marketing plan that will lead to manufacturing of referrals. But even more importantly, the manufacturing of retention so people don't leave. And one big takeaway with referral-based marketing, when you start manufacturing it, is it's a win-win-win. I want to make sure you understand this. The first win is the person doing the referring. You're the third win as the chiropractor. The first win is the person that is able to refer to you because typically they're referring to you because you transform their life. So whatever amount of money they paid you is not even enough because they're a different person as a result of you. So they want to find a way to give back. But even more than just that, they love helping people that they care about. So when you manufacture referrals, you're giving someone a chance to help someone that they love and care about. First win. Second one is the person being referred to you because their life is about to transform. And they have a baseline when they're invited into your practice because the baseline is the person referring them who already had their life transformed. So they're coming in expecting that. And when you expect that, it happens even faster, right? Second one is the person being referred into you. And then the third one is you. So for you to just say that you just get referrals, it's a selfish act. You need to manufacture referrals by having an annual marketing plan in place so it's more predictable. And that's what every chiropractor needs, predictable growth in their business, so that each year it's not like you're just starting where you were from the previous year, but you're actually seeing growth in that business.
So this takes me to the next question that's hot. Somebody that's been practicing for 30 years that says, you know what? I don't want more new patients. I don't want to have more growth. What's your message to them as being such a high level practitioner now? Like your father-in-law, like he's been practicing for 40 years and he's probably like, dude, I already have enough people. I'm already seeing enough people. What's your advice to somebody that's at that threshold that really doesn't want to experience more growth?
Yeah, so he's my stepfather, but know what it is? So a few years ago, he totally burnt out. Like he was like just burnt out, going through the motions. And what revitalized him was having a 12-month marketing plan. And he doesn't necessarily want new patients, but he wants energy. And just showing up and just doing what you do is the fastest way to burn out, get a bad chiropractic taste in your mouth, start focusing on other things that are outside of your zone of genius. And then eventually that practice actually starts to decline because it's not getting the attention it deserves. So to me, I don't look at marketing as just a mechanism to get new patients. I look at it as a way to keep your pulse on the business, to keep your energy flowing in the right direction. So that's why having a marketing plan is just so critical. And what's beautiful too is we've built this thing called the annual marketing plan formula. It's been deployed by tens of thousands of businesses over the years of us teaching it and having a software that delivers on it. It's actually fun. Like even someone like my stepfather, he obviously does this. He loves it. Like he loves when it's his webinar day each month. Like he loves it. He's a better practitioner because of it. Because he's like on fire. He has a new dialogue to have with his practice members, which is like, oh, did you sign up for my webinar? I'm talking about asthma. Oh, did you sign up for my webinar? I'm talking about pediatric chiropractic. Oh, you signing up for my webinar? I'm talking about opiate awareness. Like he's just like he's on fire because of it. And he doesn't necessarily need new patients. Like, yeah, he likes to get them, but like he likes to be on fire even more. Like when he's doing his workshops, like each quarter, like, I mean, he's on fire. Like he's going out for lunch with other businesses. Like it's fun for him. It's giving him juice. It's giving him energy versus just going to the practice, adjusting 30, 40, 50, 100 people and going home. I mean, no one wants mundane. Like that's just not a desired feeling. So that person that you're referring to, whether it's my stepfather or any chiropractor that's been doing this for a while, like the fastest way to like burn out and have your last few chiropractic years be your worst, not based on volume, just based on your passion, is to not market. Because marketing is fuel, it is energy, it is life, and you need to market. Even if you don't want new patients, you need to have something that you look forward to, that your practice members look forward to, and that's why having a 12-month plan makes such a big difference.
So let's play a fun game really quick. You're on a desert island and you can only have one app or social media platform. Which one would you choose?
I'm super biased, but it's Synduit because it does everything, right? So like if I got asked this on a recent podcast, like if you could, like if everything disappeared, right? Like one of those questions, like you had no list, you had no videos, like all that kind of stuff, but you could have one marketing tool to help you build it all again. What would it be? And it would be Synduit. And the reason for that is it just does everything. So I feel like I have an unfair competitive advantage because like choosing that one thing gives me everything. It gives me email, it gives me social, it gives me event registration, it gives me lead pages, it gives me autoresponders, it gives me content that I can use. So that's what I have, because then what would I do? I would build my annual marketing plan inside of my software. I'd start to hustle and I start to connect with people through social, through email to get them to register for the things that I'm doing. And I would rebuild based on how I built in the first place. But when I first built, I didn't actually have a software. So it took a lot longer to get that going. And that would be my one app. And I'm super biased, but I also know that it works. And as a chiropractor, you need to be as biased as I am about Synduit. Because like when you know that what you have is the greatest thing ever, it's so easy to sell it. I just know that about Synduit. It's the absolute greatest marketing solution the chiropractic profession has ever seen and will ever see, based on the fact we've been doing this for years. And we are so focused on creating a simple solution to solve that complex challenge called chiropractic marketing.
Well, this opens up another big can of worms because there's so many people out there, Jared, that say, I do one of two things. I do community-based events, which I'm an expert in, or they do Facebook ads, period. Like end of the story, end of the sentence. I do screenings or I do Facebook ads. And I love the fact that what you've done is you created a whole campaign strategy that includes that includes community-based events, grassroots growth, but it also includes the digital platforms. And you've made it so easy that people can set up a digital campaign in 10 seconds. Now, I know also a lot of people that are listening or watching this, they might not know this about you, but you actually started out as an ad agency. Now, let's talk a little bit about your upstart as an ad agency and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I started Synduit in my tiny 2-bedroom apartment 8 years ago from the time that we're recording this. So the first week of July will be 8 years. And I am not an engineer by background, so I can't write code. I'm a really great copywriter and an even better salesperson. So what I did in the beginning was I just sold myself. I had no team. I had a huge vision. I had no money. So I saw myself as a copywriter, and that very, very quickly turned into an agency because I started getting projects that I just couldn't handle. Build out of websites, search engine optimization, learning management systems, membership platforms. We had multiple 7-figure launches, filling conferences, book launches. I mean, our client list was fascinating. I mean, like the who's who of personal development. We had speakers, we had authors, we had really successful health professionals. It was a higher end service. So it was thousands of dollars a month to hire us at that time. I had a huge team, we had a huge office outside of New York City. And probably about like 15 months in, I absolutely burnt out. And there's a really great lesson here for chiropractors because from anyone's standards, what we had was really good. I mean, cash flow wise, company culture wise, there was no end to our growth. We were really good at what we did. Like we delivered. I mean, it was from anyone's standards. This was like really, really good. But for me as an entrepreneur, I don't do good. I only do epic. And I was willing to throw away good for the potential of great. Like that's a huge risk to take. And there are chiropractors that might be at that place in their business. Like you have like a good staff person and like they're afraid to let go of them, but the potential of great is worth it. Like it's actually worth making that step. So it was November, it was the day after Thanksgiving in 2012. And I had this epiphany. It was at Black Friday, I remember that. And the epiphany was I'm either going to sabotage Synduit or I'm going to find a way to scale it to 1 million entrepreneurs. I'm just not having enough fun anymore. And that's my metric. If I don't enjoy it, it's just not worth it. So I reached out to the one engineer on my team at that time that just did like the side gigs, like building out apps and things like that. And he's still with us today. He's our CTO. And I pitched him on this vision. I said, how do we build the simplest marketing solution in the world? And that's really important because there's plenty of complex solutions. So the simplest marketing solution in the world and pre-populate it with agency quality content. So the everyday business owner, when they sign up for a very, very, very small monthly fee, it's as if they hired us as an agency. And like any engineer, he said, I can do it. Because that's what all engineers say. So I'm like, all right, cool, that's great. What will it actually take to do it? And he sat for a few minutes, we were on the phone. I could tell he was thinking. He goes, there's 3 things I need. And I said, go for it. Let's do it right now. We're going to make the decision on the spot right here, right now. And he goes, 1, promise not to distract me for a full year. I said, deal. You got it. No distraction, no side projects. I'll say no to anything that requires development. He goes, okay, cool. I said, what's the next thing? He said, 2, we have to hire a team. This is impossible for me to do by myself. And I said, deal, we got it. Let's just do contractors. It'll be fast. We don't have to then go through a hiring process. We can just hire contractors. If they're right, they stick. If not, we hire new people. He goes, perfect. And he said, 3, you're not gonna like this, Jared. And I said, what? He goes, go raise $3 million. And I said, absolutely not. There's no way. It's too soon. I'm not diluting this. I will fund this through the agency. And looking back, guys, like that makes no sense at all. It is such a risk. It's almost like I created a scenario where this was guaranteed to fail because like to fund a software development project of this scale through an agency that is not that profitable because it's just expensive to operate as an agency is like silly. But at the time, it was like crystal clear, like this is what we're doing. So between 2012 and 2013, we built a very, very minimum viable version of what Synduit is today. Like behind the scenes, like we duct taped this thing together. But like to the end user, they loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. We actually launched it with chiropractors as our first market because my heart is there and I wanted to mobilize this profession. We had about 1,000 chiropractors join us in the first few months and they loved it. They thought it was the coolest thing they've ever seen. They were blown away by it. And what it did was it gave us the confidence to go all in. And that's when I officially abandoned the agency which was scary because that was like the funding source for all of this. And we ended up getting rid of all the contractors, hiring a few of them, but really hiring employees. Like that was the key on the dev side. And then we re-engineered the software, and we launched this version of the software about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. And we've scaled to tens of thousands of users now. And there's many, many, many chiropractors that are in that tribe that we built. But the moral of the story is have the courage to let go of good for the potential of great. It's worth it. And if you really believe in where you're going, it's really, that word potential doesn't matter. It will just happen. It will just be great.
So let's talk about you personally a little bit. What are some podcasts you listen to? What books are you in the middle of reading? And what do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies?
So my number one is being a dad. So I have 2 kids. I've built this company to give me the freedom to do everything that I want to do. So that was not always the case, but that was the mission, was to get to a place where I would never miss anything once I had children. And I'm at that place. So Taylor is turning 3 in August, and Riker is 7 months. Those are my 2 little rock stars. I took the company remote a year ago, which was something that I was petrified to do because we were growing so quickly. But my team, they were begging me. They're like, Jared, we want to work from anywhere. We don't need an office anymore. And I'm like, no. And then I hired this one copywriter from North Carolina, thinking they were going to relocate, and something happened and they couldn't, and they were just too good to not keep. So I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll just keep you. And I knew that was going to open Pandora's box, because everybody's like, if you're hiring out of the office, why can't we work out of the office? And I'm a good salesman, but I couldn't overturn that one. So I'm like, yep, you're 100% right. So we went remote for 30 days. It was a 30-day remote challenge, which turned into forever because it was just so darn good. So I literally never miss one thing with my kids. I work out of our beautiful home. I have an office space here. My team works from anywhere that they want. So they have the just freedom to enjoy life and to be parents and to pursue hobbies and still have a career. So yeah, number one is I am a dad, and that is where I invest every ounce of energy outside of Synduit. So most of my hobbies are related to being a dad, but my passion outside of being a dad is fitness. So I work out every day at 5 o'clock in the morning with earbuds in, and I'm listening to podcasts. So entrepreneurial podcasts, personal development podcasts, everything from How I Built This to Robin Sharma's podcast to Tony Robbins' podcast, a little bit of Gary Vee every now and then, a little bit of Grant Cardone every now and then. So I'm really big with podcasts. I don't read, like actually hold books. I listen to audiobooks. So same authors, Robin Sharma, Tony Robbins. I'm a huge fan of personal development. It's what personally gives me the edge, is that the combination of the fitness and the personal development is what gives me the edge, which is why I start my day like that. So yeah, that's my gig. Dad first, even before Synduit. And then from there, it's Synduit, it's my health, it's personal development, all those things get combined into one.
So this next question is a bit more synergistic. And from Luke and I to you, how can we help you more?
So you guys are doing it, man. Like to me, I'll share how. So you guys created this film, right? And this film is awesome. And the way that you can help me is by ensuring that the audience of this film is not just chiropractors, because that would really, bother me. Like, you didn't produce this film so that people that are already drinking the Kool-Aid drink more of the Kool-Aid, right? Like, that's not the purpose of this film. Like that's like a chiropractic textbook does that, right? Like this film is a marketing tool. Like, this film is intended for chiropractors to watch it with their patients next to them, so that the patient can be inspired and educated and empowered, and then ask their chiropractor questions. So how you can help me is we work together to ensure that this film is being shown in thousands and thousands and thousands of communities all around the world, where chiropractors are hosting movie screenings at least once, if not multiple times, inviting their patients and their family and their friends and their colleagues and leaders in the community to come to their practice or to the library or to like an outdoor screening or wherever they want to do it, to watch this film, so that people can be stimulated and understand what chiropractic is. And then after the film is done, chiropractors will do an open Q&A, answer all questions, and give people a wonderful invitation to come into their office. So you can help me by collaborating with me on that, because the last thing I want to see is a documentary that is meant for the lay people but watched by chiropractors.
Well, one of the big things that we're going to be working on is submitting it to tons of film festivals. so that lay people will be getting the message and they'll be wanting to look for a chiropractor without even having one first.
Awesome.
And then there's Netflix and Amazon and iTunes. And yeah, we want everyone in the world to see it.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll collaborate on doing that through chiropractic offices because we have experience doing that from previous documentaries in the profession and other professions. It's an amazing marketing strategy. So within the 12-4-2-2-2, that actually checks a few of the boxes. And I like when things do that, and it's fun, and it's a community-based initiative, and people come out, and chiropractors can really make it just a wonderful experience. So you guys did the work. You created the film. The ultimate flop is if chiropractors are the only ones that watch it. So we're saying the same thing. We want lay people to see it, and let's collaborate on ways to do that.
Awesome. So we're just about at the end of this episode. Is there anything you wanted to touch upon or mention that we just didn't ask you about?
The only thing would be this. So one of the things, because I've been in this profession for so long, is chiropractors, and this is somewhat general, like as a generalization, but I'm going to do it, and it's going to piss off some people, but it's only going to piss off the people that are actually falling into this group. They'll participate in something like this, like a podcast, or they'll go to a seminar, and like they get just so jazzed up, like they get so excited, and then nothing changes. Like there's no outcome from it. Like they end up showing up the next day, the same insecure doctor that they were before they went. They don't take any new action. And then like at the end of the month, they're like, oh, that was a waste of my time. That just didn't work. So make this different, right? Make this podcast different, something. And that doesn't have to be my interview, any of the interviews that you've done. Take one action on every single Chiro Hustle podcast that you listen to. One thing, extract one pearl of wisdom, and don't just make it feel good, make it do good. Like do something with it that leads to a positive outcome. And if all the interview does is like get you motivated, then get one new patient because of it. Like literally go out and knock on doors, like go to different networking events. Something has to happen tangible in your business, not just like a headspace exercise, like a tangible benefit of every podcast that you listen to. And I know that's why you guys do this in the first place. So that's my war cry to all of you. Take one pearl of wisdom and convert it into a new patient for every single one of the Chiro Hustle episodes. And that means we would have had 120 new patients already, or whatever the number is at this point, which is pretty darn good.
All right, Jared, that brings us to the end of this episode. I want to personally thank you for being our guest today. I know a lot of our listeners are going to take a lot of good takeaways from what you've said today.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Keep hustling. I love it.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you once again for finding interest in us and supporting us in our mission as well, because we're stronger together than alone. And I know that our tribes do intermingle quite well. So thank you once again for finding interest in us, and we look forward to supporting you and your vision as well.
Of course. This is just the beginning, guys. I'm pumped.
All right.
Us too.
Well, we want you to have a good rest of your day, okay?
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
All right.
See
Thanks,
ya.
Jared.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.